Okay, here we go. So, welcome to Borders 3. The trilogy.
It is.
The box set.
Actually, the box set.
That you didn't ask for, but it's here anyway.
But it's here anyway. It's anyway. We like the box set.
We do.
Yes.
I'm a bit of a sequelitis person. Like, I will just go and see them to complete the set, not necessarily because. And actually, that will bring me to one of our points of discussion today, which is Venom. But you have something burning to get off your chest, don't you?
Buses.
Buses.
I am not happy.
Go on then.
It really nodded my gnome this afternoon. I was very, very...
Nodded your gnome?
Nodded my gnome. Nodding my gnome means
Okay.
upsetting me.
Okay.
Flick my bit would mean I'm happy,
Right.
but nodding my gnome means
Nodding my gnome.
I'm not happy.
That's a new expression, people. I've never heard that before.
Well, there you go. It's been going for a while,
Yeah.
but there you go. Obviously, from where you come from, dear, it's whatever. Never mind. But yes, it really nodded my gnome today. I was upset because I was coming in here today to do this thing with you, and I thought, here, I'm going to get the 3 o'clock.
So you came in specially.
I came in specially for this.
Oh my God, I'm flattered.
Well, don't be,
Okay.
but there you go. I wanted to have a nice cup of tea as well. But anyway, so I waited for a bus. Didn't turn up. I hung on for another bus. It didn't turn up.
Hang on, but what are the timescales between each of those?
10 minutes.
10 minutes, okay.
So that bus didn't turn up either. It seems that around here, around Lancaster, there seems to be a kind of a shortfall of 30 drivers.
Really?
Yes.
That specific? You worked out?
I was told this by another driver.
Oh, right, okay.
So
I was going to say, that's very awfully precise of you to work it out.
Well, he said 28 to 30, and I'm, because from what I experienced a
Rounding
day,
up, yeah.
what I experienced a day, it must be, if not over 30.
Okay.
And in the other areas, they've got the same number down. They obviously will want to be...
That's what, 30 short in Lancaster?
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Where have they gone? Are they all driving lorries now?
Yes.
Oh, right. More
Yeah.
money.
Well, yeah, it's more money, and I think a lot of them absolutely feel that it's possibly safer to be on their own in a cabin rather than being in a bus. Because you've seen those signs that, you know, my daddy drives the bus.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, maybe daddy doesn't want to drive the bus anymore. Daddy wants to be safe and, you know.
If you think about it, we won't dwell on this too much, but if you're a driver, the amount of passengers you're exposed to every single day.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
Like a single one or a double decker, loads.
Yeah.
So
But I
if
mean,
you've got a family and other stuff.
but I've also been very angry this week about buses. I mean, last week we talked about masks. I'm not going to dwell on that, but because in this week there has been this kind of discussion about Plan B.
Yeah.
We know about Plan B of bringing in masks and social distancing. And there was a discussion this morning on the TV saying, well, you know, why aren't they bringing them in now? Because winter's coming. But my concern about buses is that we are in a university town. The bus is absolutely heaving.
Yeah. Oh, when I drive past in the morning, I do feel a little bit luxurious driving past in the morning.
I bet you do.
Seeing these crowds of people and the bus's windows dripping with condensation.
And no windows open. But the thing is, you know, we laugh and joke, but what happened this week was that I got off the bus and I was shaking.
Really?
Yeah. I got on the bus, I went upstairs, and there was one seat.
One seat?
One seat.
No social distancing there?
No, one seat. Everyone was up, and half the people didn't have masks on. There was people kind of snotting and coughing at the back.
It's like a petri dish.
It was a petri dish.
Petrobus.
A petri dish.
Petrobus.
A petrobus. I said petrobus, and I tell you something. Up there, there wasn't a single window open. So I opened one and opened two, and honestly, you would have thought I had two heads or something. Oh, looked at me as though I was like the evil Edna.
Well, I think it's because it's the temperature, but I remember sitting in the bus saying that they were going to keep the windows open for ventilation, so yeah.
But it says that, but this is the thing. I'm thinking in my head, are you bloody stupid? Because on the window it says, please keep this window open at all times.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, it was shut. So all the windows were all steamed up. And anyway, that was it. So I got home and my wife said, you all right? And she said, you're white. I said, of course I'm white. I said, I'm shaking because I'm asthmatic. I'm going to work because, hey, we're encouraged to go to work. But if we're being encouraged to go to work, we need something as a backup to protect us. Now, it was interesting. Yesterday morning, this is the realities now. So the reality, I wasn't teaching until 10 or 11 o'clock, right? What do? 7:30, I'm in here. I've got my cornflakes in one hand. I've got me soya milk in the other. I'm sitting up in a deserted kind of staff room, having breakfast, so I can get on an empty bus. Right? And then when I go home, I don't leave until, I would say, nearly 5:45.
Yeah.
So I can be on a semi-empty bus. What is going on? And it's crazy. And everyone I speak to say, I don't feel happy. I don't feel happy with this.
Yeah.
You know? And
it's a chicken egg scenario, because if you haven't got enough bus drivers,
yes.
then there'll be less buses.
Okay.
So more people are packed on them.
Yes.
So they can't do social distancing.
No. But even if you have enough buses,
Yeah.
people aren't using common sense. I came in this afternoon and there was, I say, 2/3 didn't have a mask on.
Mm-hmm.
And one was at the back, literally bringing her lungs up. I mean, she was bringing her lungs up. My God, she was coughing. Oh, I tell you, she must have been on the stage. It was like, and it was like, and you could hear all this coming down, and I could see this. I could see everyone.
That's really graphic.
It was
And you could smokers.
It was. I mean, I don't know if she had a smoker's cough or a COVID cough or what she had. But I tell you something. She didn't have a mask on.
Yeah.
So the poor person in front of her basically got a whole head full.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And that person had a mask on, and I tell you, I turned round and the eyes were wide open, and she looked absolutely terrified. She's going to have to go home and sterilise her head. Stick her head in a bucket of disinfectant or something.
Maybe we should have that, like, before you get on, you just go.
Yes. See, we're okay, because I bumped into a girl the other day, and her hair was wet, and she said, I hate washing my hair. I said, I just get a cloth, love. I said, and just got over my head. I said, it worked honestly fine.
I mean, I've been shaving my head since I was 25, so
same here.
I don't need haircuts anymore.
Don't need haircuts, but you see,
our bald people are more susceptible, because
don't think about
the
that.
germs could sink in.
Just think, imagine like she's, and it runs down the back of your head. Yeah. Oh no! Because hey, Davey, there's something green on the back of your head. Oh my God! You know. But honestly, then what happened, which was even better. She decided to swivel a bit, so she was coughing over.
So she moved the angle of projecting.
I'm convinced she must have been an assassin, you know, in a previous life, because she certainly knew how to knock out people. She was doing very well. I mean, the other thing with buses that really upset me up here, coming around Lancaster, is not just all that COVID, but outside of COVID, there's nowhere to put your bags. So if you're disabled or you are older and you need to sit at the front, often you can't, because there's bloody great big cases.
Yeah.
Now, I've raised it with my counsellor. She's done nothing.
What could she do though?
Well, she's on the bus committee for Lancaster. Okay. Oh yeah, no, I've got to know the right people.
Yeah.
And then I've written a dirty letter a couple of times to the bus company, and they didn't write back. And
they'll probably put your letter on the notice board for the weekend.
Yeah, but you see, they'll put things in the context here. Years ago, I fought, and I got accessible buses around here because I had a stick then, and I had problems getting on a bus. But the point is that now there's nowhere. So when older people get on or infirm, there's nowhere for them to sit. Because, and I don't blame the students or anybody else, but if you've got your shopping, etc., where do you put it? Yeah. And I said, well, why don't you put like some luggage above, you know? Or we can't do that. I said, why? Well, just we can't. I asked the driver the other day, so we can't do that. I said, well, give me a reason why. Well, we just can't. I said, look.
That's a very detailed reason.
And I said, look, I'm sorry. So I teach. I need an argument.
Yeah.
You just can't say I can't.
I'm sorry, sir. I can't do my essay. Why? I can't.
Well, I can't. I have students say that to me. I said, well, why can't you do it? Well, I can't. So, you know. So anyway, so this is it. But I just think, you know, and then we come to price. So I'm paying through the nose, and hey, other countries.
How much is a return these days?
It's £3.10.
Okay.
So I'm paying.
So like £12.50 a week.
Yeah, not more. Yeah. And in other countries,
you get a season, like a week.
I get a weekly ticket. Yeah, I get a weekly ticket. But the thing is, why should I pay £3.10 return when one, I've got nowhere to put me shopping, two, I'm going to get my head all mucky with the person coughing on the back of my neck, and three, I'm more likely to pick up something because the bloody windows are shut and the driver won't open them. Maybe
this isn't serious. Maybe they could do like a discount. So if it's full of people hacking up their lungs, you get like £1 off. If there's no discount,
yeah. That's it.
So very busy, £1 ticket.
Well, we're bringing in first class and second class
Yeah,
again, aren't
exactly,
we?
yeah,
I mean, we might even have third class. We can sit on the floor and get all the germs in your lungs.
Yeah.
I like the way of that.
Right, so first class sit upstairs and there's loads of social distancing and there's like a menu, table service, everything else. Then the normal thing you walk in is and then you've got people sitting on the floor third class. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we could
go anyway. I think that's the way we're going, you know. We're moving towards that,
yeah.
you know. But quite frankly, mate, as we're going at the moment, and the public transport is like this, half the population that goes on the bus will be killed off anyway. So that's it. And on that subject, I think we can move very well on to Venom.
What, killing people on buses?
Yes.
I have to say,
Venom, virus, you know. Poison.
Virus, symbiote.
Okay.
So the tenuous link Davey made is
very tenuous.
From virus to symbiote. And see, the difference between a virus is a pathogen that affects its host and does nothing useful.
No.
A symbiote, which is what Venom is about, is it's a pathogen that Eddie Brock, who's played by Tom Hardy, kind of wears, which gives him extra powers. And what's interesting is Venom cannot seem to bond with any other human before the human dies. Eddie, for some reason, is the perfect match for them. And so guys, this is Venom, Let There Be Carnage, which is the sequel to the first one. And I would say actually, it's not often I say this, but I think the sequel is actually better. It's a lot leaner. The first one I think was over 2 hours, which, you know, this was actually a really tight hour and a half. It just whizzed along. It's directed by Andy Serkis, who is a Lancaster alumni.
He is. So. Did he actually direct that?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know. I didn't know he did a lot of directing. I know he did lots of other things.
Yeah, I mean, I asked on Twitter to be his assistant, but he didn't get back to me. But for this movie, because as soon as I heard Lancaster, alumni Andy Serkis directing Venom, I was like, this is awesome. So I didn't get a reply, so never mind. But yeah, and I think it does show, because the difference this time, and the first one, it set a lot of the plates spinning in terms of how Venom looked and everything else. But this one, what was quite fun about it is they'd nailed the kind of bickering couple co-op type thing. So when Eddie was at a crime scene, Venom would be in his head telling him, "Did you see that?" And we'll show him things that he missed.
I like that. Did you see that?
Yeah, because he's always like nagging him.
But he's got a deep voice.
It's very, very deep. Did you see that, Eddie? That's how he tends to speak.
And then he goes, "Yes, I did."
he's in.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Did you? Yes.
And no, he's not like a shrieking ventriloquist puppet.
Oh yes. Like Lauren Hardy.
Yeah.
Oh yes. Yeah,
but no, and there's a scene in his apartment where he actually beats himself up, like as in he tries to break up with Venom, and
don't break up with this symbiote,
exactly,
mate. It's not done.
So there's lots of throwing themselves across the room and stuff, and I really
themselves across the room.
No, everything breaks, like televisions, everything gets crushed. I mean, it's brilliant. And Venom's learning to live alongside humans, but he's not allowed to eat heads, which is his preferred meal, because he needs brains to survive, as you do. So Eddie's always having to placate him with chocolate and chickens. So there's always sort of running in jokes and things.
Chocolate and chickens,
because there's the same particular hormone that Venom apparently needs.
Well, bananas, because bananas is strawberries.
Don't know. Writes Tom Hardy. I don't know.
I'm going to ask Tom Hardy. Do you eat bananas and chocolates? If I want to keep high, it's bananas, strawberries, and chocolate.
There you go. You got one thing in common with Venom. Venom eats chocolate.
Yeah, I don't know what my symbiote's like. I'm just going to get rid of it.
But no, it's. I'm not going to spoil it for those who haven't seen it, but it results in the release of another symbiote called Carnage, which is has hooked up with a serial killer called Cletus Cassidy or something. Sorry, I should know. And that symbiote exacerbates his negative characteristics as a serial killer. So he's kind of Venom but +1, as in what if Venom was bad, this is how he could end up. So it's kind of that sort of duality thing where Eddie Brock has to kind of learn to control his darker impulses through Venom. Venom has to kind of tolerate Eddie. Then Eddie seeing how far gone Cletus goes with his symbiote. So so some interesting parallels, some quite cool fights and things. Part of me, overall I was satisfied, and I will see a third one, and there is an ending where they link this Venom with the Tom Holland Spider-Man, so there's now the potential that they will cross paths, which is a huge deal in geek culture, because Venom in the comics is one of Peter's most significant adversaries. What annoyed me about the Spider-Man 3 with Tobey Maguire, have you seen Spider-Man 3?
No.
in Spider-Man 3, Venom appears, but in actually quite a small, almost 10-15 minute role in a 2-hour, 20-minute movie. And it kind of annoyed a lot of fans at the time because on the one hand it was great to see him, but he was used and wasted so quickly that we just thought, you know what, he didn't really do justice. So to have Venom 1, Venom 2, actually 2 full movies with Venom, we feel is a step forward, you know. So to have that, and for me growing up, I watched, I think it was called the Symbiote Saga. It was a cartoon version of Spider-Man, the 1995 series, and it followed the symbiote from space gets deposited on Earth. Peter picks it up. He learns to live with it. It enhances his powers, but what it does, it starts exacerbating his darker impulses. So he starts hurting people he cares about. So he then discards the symbiote. The symbiote then finds Eddie Brock, takes over Eddie Brock, and he then becomes Venom. For a while he's a villain, but then eventually he becomes an anti-hero. He decides to control Venom more successfully. And him and Spider-Man sort of have this kind of love-hate kind of occasionally teaming up but preferring not to kind of thing. So it'll be interesting to see that now Eddie's had the symbiote first. What happens when he meets Peter? Will the symbiote move from Eddie over to potentially Spider-Man in a future series? So so there's some interesting links there.
Because isn't there? I saw something the other day. I don't know if this is relevant, but there is a comic out about a dark Spider-Man, as in his outfit is dark, and that I've got the impression that he had been either taken over or...
It might very well be. Venom's been a very popular comic.
Yeah, so maybe Venom's gone into the Spider-Man, and hence his outfit is darker. It's becoming more of an anti-hero, which is interesting, actually, concept, isn't it?
Always, you always have like bad version of Superman, bad version of Spider-Man.
Oh yes, yeah.
So it's a classic concept, and I think what I think Venom lingers because it's kind of like the ultimate version of Spider-Man. So if Spider-Man was more aggressive, more powerful, what would he end up like? And then Carnage is then the absolute extreme where he actually murders people. So it's an interesting kind of progression. And I think as a character kind of arc to see, just for the character to work out what they're not. So it's that duality theme of like, and you're then realizing that no, that's too far for me, And that's what kind of Venom 2 kind of taps into. So it's an interesting movie. Part of me still would really like kind of a really gritty, longer 2-hour kind of exploration of some really adult themes. Because at the end of the day, this is a PG. This is a 15, I think. It's a 15.
This is, I think it's a 15.
Because there are some quite brutal kind of deaths and stuff in it.
But a 15 is. I find these days that if I think back to 20 years ago, a 15 would have been
15 was Terminator 2.
But I think now I think an 18, 25, 30 years ago would be a 15 now.
Oh, definitely.
And that's how it's changed. And I think because our concept of violence and sex has changed as well. So
also,
there's
certain like minimum requirements. So like if it says the F word or the S word, that'll get it like a PG-13, but only once. You can only say it once.
Only say it
12A.
Yeah.
Then 15, I think, is if you repeatedly say swear words and you've got graphic violence.
Yes.
I think 18 is then if you've got all of that, plus I think like sexual
graphic sex.
Yeah. And then anything beyond that is then weird or X-rated.
See, X-rated used to be an R years ago, so that's an interesting.
I think it seems like everything has kind of been rounded down a bit, hasn't it?
Yeah. And of course, it always makes me laugh with these things because I know obviously we're talking about violence, but there's also about nudity. So I find that what you reveal. We'll obviously, So the classic example was the James Bond film. So the James Bond film in the 80s, the one with the Welshman, Timothy Dalton.
Yeah.
I think it was the actress. She showed her nipple.
Right.
And went up to a 15.
That sent everyone into a meltdown.
That everyone went into meltdown. It's a nipple, right? And it goes up to 15. And the amount, I remember very well, I remember the amount of complaints. Well, I can't take my young son to this because a nipple's being shown on the screen. You see it for a split second.
Well, if you want more nipples, like Batman Forever, they got nipples on the batsuit, and that's a PG. And that's a PG. That's a PG if you want more nipples.
Oh, heavens.
Rubber nipples.
Rubber.
See, that's an interesting point in itself, actually, as we're on the nipple topic.
Yes.
So I'm a massive Batman fan.
Massive nipple fan.
Not-
I'm a massive Batman fan. Go on.
That's what I said. I didn't say I'm a massive nipple fan.
Okay, all right. Okay.
So I'm a massive Batman fan. Burton's vision, yeah, that sort of gothic.
We won't go there with Burton regarding that. The man's off his head anyway.
He is. But in fairness, I think his better work was in his earlier years. I think, he revolutionised Batman.
He must have an infatuation with nipples then, that's what I couldn't say.
Possibly. Batman Returns, and then Nolan's kind of more realistic take. And the Batman Forever and Batman and Robin ones, they always get sort of bad press. Now, Batman and Robin absolutely is an abomination. I mean, George Clooney is just playing George Clooney.
But I see, I love George Clooney.
He's too smug.
But I love Val Kilmer as well.
Yeah.
I love them both.
Hang on. So,
right,
Batman and Robin definitely deserves getting kicked in the nuts. Arnold has, Arnold, he's always there with his puns. Chill.
Hey, chill.
Yeah.
Fancy an ice cream?
Well, nearly. No, he says, you're not sending me to the cooler.
Yeah, I'm sending the cooler. Yeah. I'm not going to hang out with those ice creams.
Have you seen? He doesn't speak like that. That's like a Cockney English Mr. Freeze.
Yeah, hello. I'm Mr. Freeze, and I'm from the East End of London. I see apples and pears. Yeah, exactly.
So hopefully not. But anyway. So Batman and Robin deserves the hate that he gets because it killed the franchise and is just a very gaudy mess of ideas. Batman Forever, I actually I always liked when I saw it in the cinema in the 90s, but actually over time as I've gone back to it and watched it and read a bit about the making of it, it does have some dark moments in it. It explores Bruce finding what it means to be Batman, whereas in the first two it never actually it showed his parents getting murdered, but it never explained the symbol. So actually, Batman Forever did actually explain where he got the symbol from. So I think it does deserve more praise than it gets. I love Jim Carrey as the Riddler. He's completely over the top. Val Kilmer does a great job as Bruce Wayne. Chris O'Donnell playing Robin. He has a very difficult job playing Robin in the movie, and I think he does a great job. Anyway, the whole nipple thing comes down to so Joel Schumacher is 100. He's passed now, unfortunately. But he was gay, and basically there's sort of comments at the time that basically he put the nipples on the batsuit because he was gay and thought Batman was gay. So that's how much interpretation. But in terms of the actual aesthetic, what he was saying is he regards heroes as kind of the modern day Greek kind of gods. So when the batsuit was being made, he decided to put the abs on and the nipples on to give it that kind of sculpture look. Whether that's the right thing for the character, I can't say.
Sounds more S&M to me.
Could be,
actually.
But it's an interesting point that the Batman and the nipple thing will get people talking for hours as to whether it should be done. Yeah. To me, I didn't find that distracting. I honestly didn't. I just regard it as part of more of an animal kind of look for the character. Yeah. If you've seen the Christopher Nolan ones, they're much more armour kind of dominated. So it is what it is.
But I've always seen Batman as always quite non-binary. Actually, I've never seen him as straight or gay or whatever.
There are obvious long-standing jokes, as in what did him and Robin get up to in the Batcave? I mean,
and politics. I would imagine.
But I just regard it as a bit of a bromance. I never really thought.
But I mean,
read into it.
No, but I mean, in the 60s with the first TV series and the film, it was a little bit camp. But that was the
60s was very camp.
It was very camp, but it wasn't necessarily camp in that way because we would now see it camp because it was much more colourful outfits. However, I think what had come out of it was that it was a much more colourful production, and there was an innocence there, which was a lot more evident. Which
franchises
got darker.
Franchises seem to go in one of two directions. So when something's criticised as being very, very dark and bleak, they then counteract it and make something colourful and it's regarded as camp. So I'll give you an example. So Man of Steel. Batman vs Superman got kind of very mixed reviews from critics. It's a dark movie, but it's also dour, which is a bit different. There's bits that I enjoyed about it. And
the sequel is good.
It's a flawed kind of bit of work, but it's worth watching. The thing was interesting with Justice League is the execs were panicked by the response to Batman vs Superman, so they hired Joss Whedon to reshoot it. And when you watch Justice League and then Zack Snyder's Justice League is very much kind of committee, colourful, getting back towards almost Batman and Robin territory. And then Zack Snyder's Justice League is very much more adult and dark and serious. So those two are actually a fascinating case study as to how you can go from light to dark, even within the same universe.
Yeah.
I'm kind of the jury's out for me, and I think the world of Batman, because he's psychologically damaged and deals with really insane villains, I think his stuff typically has to be more dark and noir with pockets of humour, but that's kind of it. I think Marvel and other movies, because maybe the characters are a bit more, not necessarily as complicated, but more colourful, I think they can afford to be a bit more kind of risque with kind of humour and everything else. For me, Batman, that world, the sort of rain, the Gotham City, the darkness, the detective angle, I think it has to be more of a dark piece overall for it to succeed. When you see Batman running around in tights like in the 60s, I enjoy it, but I enjoy it because I'm laughing kind of at it. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, no, I do.
And I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
No,
I'm just
no,
saying
no,
it's a different.
but I grew up with that.
Yeah,
You didn't.
yeah.
I grew up with that. That's
well,
Batman.
Saying that.
No, but I mean, I grew
watch
up.
reruns.
Yeah, but I grew up.
So there is that nostalgia thing.
There's that nostalgia,
but it's a different viewing experience.
I agree there.
One is very immersive and noir and detective. The other is kind of almost like a performance, like a pantomime.
But if you look at Whedon's stuff, he's always brought a lot of humour in. I mean, I'm a great fan of Firefly. And Firefly,
I like Buffy of his.
Yeah, well, Buffy and Firefly, and there was always this action, there was always this darkness, but there's also a bit of humour.
Yeah.
And I like that quite a bit,
Yeah.
So good stuff. So I'm glad you enjoyed Venom then.
Yeah, it's good. I'm going to try and see the new Bond one this week. Finally, because it's 3 hours long. It's a big chunk of my life.
Yeah.
So I need to see it, not at the end of a really long working day. I'm going to try and catch it maybe on Saturday. And this Halloween Kills has come out, so I might try and see that. Apparently it's not as good as the first sequel, because they're making, I told you before, they're making him out to be transcendent. So whenever they kill him, he just keeps coming back. So excellent, brilliant. And what was really sad about that development is actually the first sequel recently was about trauma. She couldn't move on with her life. And meeting Michael again, it was actually a bit of closure, so that was a really interesting thing. And then June is also coming out, which is another 3 hours.
June's going to be interesting. I remember the one years ago with Sting in it when he played the baddie. Again, like we're talking about the Batman films, it was seen as a bit camp, a little bit too, lots of nipples in that as well.
So it seems that they might again have swung in the opposite direction for this one.
Yes, this one's darker.
The thing is, I've watched the training stuff and it looks visually cool. It's just like, I just don't know if it's ever really clicked with me as source material. Like it looks interesting.
Yeah.
But it's like, so I'll go and see it just out of curiosity really, but it hasn't got me as excited as it has some people. Like some people are going nuts over it.
Yeah, I can honestly say when I saw the first film, it was pretty revolutionary in some of the kind of CGI it used.
It bombed though, didn't it?
It did bomb, yeah. I think
because this new one is going to be part one of two. Basically.
It was too convoluted, I think, and the story. And of course, we mustn't forget that Jean-Luc Picard was in it. Actually,
that's right.
And he was in it. I think just before he went, or just after he was in Star Trek, one or the other. And on Star Trek, what a lovely way in.
Oh yes.
That's what a great way to do it. Into
Captain Kirk going into space,
where no over 90-year-old pensioner has gone before.
I think it's a sweet match. I think
it's great.
He's been so linked to space culture and talking about it and inspiring people to look up and watch the TV series, and for him to go out there, I thought was very apt and appropriate.
And he's a Canadian, which is actually interesting. Yes, he's Canadian. People forget that.
What I thought was quite interesting is I watched he was on Jimmy Kimmel talking about his experience, and he was saying when he came back down, Bezos was running towards him with a champagne bottle, and he actually said no. He said he wanted to process the moment. He said for him this wasn't a champagne bottle moment. He's like he said it was hugely significant him going into space. After all these years acting about going into space
and going to reunions and stuff,
and talking about space, but never actually been there. He's saying when he was up there, and he said you saw the depth, infiniteness of space, and then seeing the planet that you come from. And he said, it made him kind of reevaluate a lot of things in his life. As he says, we all periodically do that. The pandemic, I think, has triggered some of that as well.
Yeah, it has.
But he said, being up there and then experiencing what it's like. He said when he came back down, I guess he could describe himself as being shaken, as in, he was moved by it, and really having a bottle of champagne thrown in his face by a bald man. He was like, no,
I think I will have a hot chocolate or a cup of tea to calm down. Actually, after that, I know. I mean, but also that brings on to what's also been happenings, like Prince William this week has
Yeah.
been saying, look, okay, Mr. Musk and others, like the man that lives on the Virgin Islands. What's he called? The one
Branson,
and always competing to get up out there first. Why focus on space travel at the moment? They've been doing it for years, but focus on solving the problems. I mean, I'm just reading this morning. Mr. Musk is going to be possibly the first trillionaire.
excellent.
Which is great. He's
Good for
making
him.
a fortune out of all these electric cars.
Yeah.
Right. Put your clever ideas on solving some of the big climate change issues at the moment, and other things that humankind needs to kind of move forward. I don't mean move forward in the negative.
Running off to space won't stop COVID.
It won't.
On Earth.
Well,
Yeah, you'll go up there, like looking down at everyone.
yeah. Personally,
Oh my God, we're over time.
quick. Personally, I think we should take an idea from a Star Trek episode and put Musk and the other fella in suspended animation and send them to space and get rid of them.
Okay, and then do they meet the Borg on the way?
Yes, yes. They can help them to sort out their electrics there, can't they?
What film is that one with the Borg? 'Cause that's a really good one when it's like a whole
First Contact.
First Contact, yeah, it's pretty awesome.
First
actually.
Contact. Yes, First Contact.
Right, anyway,
We've run out.
So we've gone from buses to Bezos to Borgs
To
bald people
to Star Trek.
to Venom,
Yeah.
to parasites to symbiotes. Yep, always a varied platter, isn't it?
A platter. This is a platter. A bald head on a platter. There you
Indeed.
go.
Until,
Right.
Until next time.
Toodaloo.
Purge completed.